This video cassette explores the field of graphic communications and the processes used to produce printed materials. The graphic communications industry has a long and distinguished history, and it has evolved over a long period of time. It was developed for a purpose, which was the need of people to communicate and to preserve and store information for others to use. That need has progressed from the relatively simple demands of early civilizations to the complex needs of our society. From a need for a few simple communications to a point where we would have difficulty maintaining our social structure without graphic communication. As the demand for printed materials developed and expanded, an increase in the capacity and expertise required to produce them became necessary. These circumstances resulted in the development of several methods of printing, each with its own unique requirements. The production methods employed by the printing industry are known as basic printing processes. They have been categorized in a variety of ways by different writers. One convenient method of classifying the processes is by the following broad categories: relief, planographic, intaglio, stencil, electrostatic, and evolving processes. Most of the printing processes are identified by more than one name, the result of evolution of the printing methods over a long period of time. Relief processes are recognized by the names letterpress, letterset, and flexography, and they can be described as those methods of printing which require that the printing surface be raised in relief above the non-printing surface. Early letterpress methods relied upon hand-carved relief surfaces. This detailed woodcut was used to produce duplicate printing plates from its surface. It was used for illustration in a scientific instruments catalog. It can also be used as a printing plate. Other simple examples of relief surfaces are carved linoleum block, an art gum eraser carved to produce a decorative geometric repeat pattern, hand-set type, which replaced the need for hand-carved letters for printing, and photo engraving. Photo engravings are illustrations or photographs that are converted to a dot pattern and etched into metal. There has been a dramatic decline in the use of letterpress printing. The introduction of Dichroic and other photopolymer printing plates offered greater flexibility for letterpress, but they have failed to stem the decline in the use of the process. Many schools have letterpress equipment that they have had for many years, and it is used to teach letterpress processes. The equipment can be utilized advantageously to teach many of the principles underlying techniques employed in other processes, and it can serve the purpose of generating an interest in the fascinating field of graphic communications. Several press designs are used for letterpress printing, ranging from the platen press and flatbed to the high-speed rotary presses used in some large daily newspapers and commercial establishments. Letterpress is used for general commercial printing, publications printing, and for specialized applications such as numbering, scoring, perforating, die cutting, and embossing. The letterpress share of the printing market has declined because other processes offer advantages in typesetting, flexibility, and plate cost. However, there has recently been a revived interest in the process in areas where letterpress performs best and offers economic advantages. One of the advancements in letterpress plate making was the development and introduction of thin metal plates with a shallow relief image. The plates are used on an offset press. A rubber stamp is a simple example of flexography. Flexographic plates fall under the definition of relief printing. but flexography is sometimes considered as a separate process. Flexography's share of the printing market has increased because of improvements in quality and plate-making procedures. Flexography is widely used for printing packaging materials and for label printing. The process is currently being studied and utilized as an alternative to letterpress for producing newspapers. Planographic processes: spirit duplication, lithography, photolithography, photo offset lithography, and offset. Planographic printing can be defined as reproduction methods in which there is little perceptible difference between the height of the printing and non-printing areas of the printing plate. Spirit duplication is a form of planographic printing. In this process, an aniline dye is deposited on a master sheet. A wick coated with a fast evaporating solvent moistens each sheet as it passes over the wick and into the duplicator. Some of the dye is dissolved by the solvent and deposited on the sheet when it contacts the master sheet under pressure. Lithography has been in existence since 1798. Originally, the image to be printed was drawn on smooth stone. The process required great skill, was time-consuming, and presented a considerable storage problem. A greater interest in lithography was caused by developments in photography in the mid-1800s, and by a discovery in the late 1800s that sheets of thin metal could carry the image that had earlier been placed on stone. The discovery that the image on the plate could be transferred to a resilient surface prior to transfer to paper led to further improvements and the introduction of the term offset. The process became more flexible for use by printers, and it offered advantages over letterpress in the areas of plate costs, page makeup, and press work. The combination of photo techniques with offset led to the introduction of the term photo offset lithography. Today, offset is a generally used name for the process. The process is dependent upon the fact that oily or greasy substances do not readily mix with water. Therefore, if an image that is water repellent is placed on a surface that will retain moisture, printing ink formulated for the offset process will adhere to the water repellent surface, but not to the water receptive surface. This may be simply demonstrated by drawing on a piece of sturdy paper with a grease pencil, applying moisture to the entire surface, and then rolling an ink roller over the image area. The ink that adheres to the surface can be transferred by applying pressure. In commercial practice, a printing press first moistens and then inks a printing plate. The image is transferred from the plate to a rubber blanket. The rubber blanket transfers the image to the material to be printed upon. Offset is used for general commercial work such as letterhead and business cards, forms, publications printing, packaging, metal decorating, and other applications. Intaglio processes: etching and engraving, gravure, photogravure, and rotogravure. Intaglio printing refers to printing methods where the image to be printed is mechanically, chemically, or electronically engraved, scratched, or etched below the non-printing area. Ink is placed in the depressed images, and the non-printing area is cleaned prior to transferring the image to the substrate to be printed on. Simple forms of intaglio are etchings and engravings. Lines may be scratched, engraved, or etched in plastic or metal. A buttery ink is applied to the lines, and the surface of the plate is cleaned. A print is made using pressure. Art prints, paper money, and other high-quality engraved printing utilize this method of intaglio printing. gravure, photogravure, and rotogravure. High-speed commercial gravure printing is accomplished by placing an overall screen pattern on the printing areas of the plate, along with the image to be printed. The supporting structure provided by the screen pattern permits a thin doctor blade to remove excess ink prior to printing, leaving ink in cells etched below the non-printing surface. The substrate being printed removes the ink from the cells. The term photogravure indicates that photographic processes were used in preparation of the printing plate, and rotogravure is used to denote that the press used for printing is a rotary press. Cylindrical plates for commercial rotogravure printing are expensive to produce, but exceptionally durable. Long runs ranging from 1 to several million copies are possible with this process. Long runs are necessary to make the process cost-effective. Rotogravure is used for packaging, textiles, wallpaper, catalogs, Sunday newspaper supplements, and other applications requiring long press runs. This process is considered by many people to be capable of producing the best possible printed reproductions of original artwork and photographs. Many different terms have been used to describe stencil processes. They are mimeograph, stencil printing, silkscreen, serigraphy, mitography, selecting, screen process, and screen printing. Screen printing or stencil printing are the preferred names in use today. In stencil processes, ink is applied through open areas of a stencil onto a substrate. Mimeograph is an example of stencil printing. In this method, a waxy coating on a mimeograph stencil is removed to expose a fibrous structure underneath. The stencil is mounted on a saturated ink pad where ink passes through the fibers onto an absorbent paper when pressure is applied. Stencil printing was practiced by the ancient Chinese, who used human hair to hold the parts of their stencil together. They produced some excellent reproductions using this intricate, time-consuming procedure. Later, the practice of adhering the stencil to a fine mesh material to hold the parts together was introduced. Silk proved to be one of the best materials available for the purpose, and the method of printing became known as silkscreen. Today, many synthetic fabrics are used to serve the same purpose as silk, and the term silkscreen is no longer descriptive of this method. Stencil support materials range from coarse mesh organdy to very expensive fine stainless steel mesh. Stencils for the process may be hand-cut or produced using photographic techniques. The type of stencil selected depends upon the solvents contained in the printing ink and other requirements for the job. Screen printing is used to print a variety of products, from textiles to bricks, and from circuit boards to containers and billboards. There is a need in business and industry to produce graphic and text materials where neither high-speed reproduction nor the superior quality of commercial printing processes are major considerations, where copies need to be made of one original for distribution to several people within an organization. The most convenient method of producing them has been through the use of electrostatic copiers. 100 billion xerographic copies were estimated to have been made in 1986. A simple explanation of the way copiers function is that areas of the paper which are to receive an image are electrostatically charged, sensitized, or desensitized so they will accept a pigmented toner in the image area. The toner may be a liquid or powder, depending on the design of the electrostatic unit. If a powder is used, it must be fused to the paper with heat or a solvent. Plates for the offset printing process can be made electrostatically, providing another alternative for producing these types of printed products. Electrostatic copiers, and small offset presses form the basis for a large quick copy industry. Some electrostatic units are capable of high production speeds and long press runs. Electrostatic printing is also used for a variety of specialty printing applications. Inkjet printing is a process that has been studied for quite a long time. It depends on the concept of using a controlled ink spray to form an image and has been used for specialized printing applications. Many problems associated with this process have been identified and overcome. Today it is possible to produce four-color process printing using inkjet printing. Use of this method should increase in the future. The introduction of laser printers, typeface selectivity, and page layout capability has led to the introduction of the terms desktop publishing and electronic printing and publishing. The ability of these units to produce several different typefaces and format pages has generated intense activity in this segment of the industry. This gives an office more choices in producing the printed materials it normally produces. Laser printers use laser beams as an exposing light source for the production of copies. Image resolution is improved and the units operate quietly. Sophisticated software packages allow the laser copier to interpret electronic signals from a personal computer to produce a copy on paper without the use of an original hard copy. Electronic signals generated in the computer may be used to form an image on paper. In order to do this, electronic digital information from a computer is fed to a laser printer. The printer interprets the electronic signals and causes its laser beam to sensitize paper, which attracts the toner in the image area and regenerates the signals as digital information on the paper. The point of concern for the printing industry is the uncertainty about whether this new technology will mean less business for printers or merely that the expanded capability will allow offices to generate their internal communications with greater aesthetic appeal, eventually creating a greater demand for high-quality printing. Images generated with desktop publishing laser printers are limited in resolution. Developmental work is underway with light-emitting diodes, LED, and ion deposition as methods of regenerating electronic images on paper, as an alternative to laser printers. In this cassette, we have discussed and demonstrated several basic printing processes that are utilized in the printing industry today. Some new methods are showing promise. It is important to remember that the industry is in a constant state of development and change, as new ideas are introduced, tested, and discarded or accepted in a continual search for better, more efficient, and cheaper methods for producing quality printed products. One can only wonder what the printing processes of the future will be.